All right, welcome everybody. This is the Resume and LinkedIn Basics workshop. It's part of a series that I am doing sort of inspired by the layoffs in the federal government, but these workshops are not just for people who are in the federal government, they are for anyone. Whether you're a recent college grad or you've been in the workforce for 30 years, these workshops are for anyone. They are just going through all of the steps that you need to run an efficient and effective job search. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Karen Chopra. I'm a career counselor in private practice in the Washington, D.C. area. I was a Fed for 10 years. I worked for the U.S. Department of Commerce, International Trade Administration, and then the Office of the United States Trade Representative. And I do know that if I had gotten laid off back then, I wouldn't have known what to do. I've spent 25 years since then doing career work. So now I do know what to do. And I'm happy to share that information with anybody and everybody who is looking for a job. So this is the third in a series of 5. The next session will be next Tuesday, March 18th at 7:30, and we're going to go over interview prep. And then March 25th at 7:30 p.m., we're going to do salary negotiation. That is a specialty of mine. It is a personal favorite. It is always lots of fun to talk about getting more money. It's not nearly as hard or as intimidating as people think. So either join us then, or if you can't join us, plan to watch the video once we get it posted. And the registration links are in the career resources handout, which Jay will post in the chat. And he'll also just post the registration links in the chat right now. All right, today's objective is an overview of the resume and LinkedIn basics. So about 50% of the time on resume and 50% on LinkedIn basics. And we are doing this because I've been doing this for a long time, and I know that my clients get wrapped around the axle on writing their resume and getting their LinkedIn up to date. And a lot of it is because they don't exactly know what they're doing with this thing. And so they're trying to cover all the bases, which takes way too much time and way too much effort. So the goal today is for you to understand exactly what these 2 marketing tools are used for, who the audience is, and what the most effective best practices are for writing it. Once you have that overview, there are a ton of free resources out there. Many of them are listed in the career resources handout, which will also be posted in the chat. CareerSherpa.net has a weekly newsletter with lots of information about job search, including LinkedIn and resumes. Jessica Hernandez, who has a lovely template, which is in the handout, and Jay will actually throw that in the chat as well, offers a free template. Okay, you have to give her your email, but it is a beautiful free template. And she also there's a LinkedIn article where you can take a look at that free template, and that's also in the chat. Michelle Dumas, who's another colleague, has very affordable, downloadable, customizable resume templates. That's also in the career resources handout. So there are lots of resources out there to help you on resume and LinkedIn. And my goal today is for you to go, I know what I'm looking for. I know what I need. I know what this is, and that's not going to work for me, and I'm going to change it in this way. So that's what we're doing today. All right, so let us start with everyone's favorite, the resume. The resume is not a full disclosure document. It is not a personal history. It is a marketing document, and you are the product. And it has essentially one function, 2 audiences, but one major function, and that is the resume gets you the meeting or the interview. It is the interview that gets you the job, right? So the interview is where you're going to go into all of those details about the fabulous things you have done. All of those details do not need to be on the resume. You can think of the resume as an invitation to a conversation with the recruiter or the headhunter. Just enough information that leaves them wanting more. The resume also serves as a leave behind at a networking meeting or at an interview so that they can remind themselves about how fabulous you are. This is the thing that always gets my clients. that resume is going to get, on average, 7 seconds of a recruiter or employer's time before they move it into the look at that further or reject pile. 7 seconds. And back in before the pandemic, the Ladders, which is a career counseling and recruiting organization, did a study, an iScan study. And this is one of the slides from that iScan study. And this shows you, this is where a recruiter looks in those 7 seconds. Yes, your name, the top of that summary section. Look at the orange. They're spending all their time at the top of that summary section. Even the rest of the summary section gets a light glance. Then they look at your experience, look at your title and your organization. A little bit, in the text, but really they're not reading that. And then please notice over on the right-hand side, they are checking the dates. They're running the cron. That's what they see when they look at a resume. So if you were down in line 5 or 6 of a bullet, they're not seeing that. That's not scannable. It's not doing you any good. So keep this vision in mind. The top of the resume, over on the left-hand margin, over on the right-hand margin. That's where all the power needs to be in a resume. You also need to be writing a resume with applicant tracking systems in mind. These are the automated artificial intelligence systems that go through and assess whether this person is qualified for a job. Applicant tracking systems are really focused on keywords, right? And so you need a resume that is keyword rich so that it will make it through the ATS systems. But if you go back to our first session, I will remind you, your job search is not just about applying online. This resume is mostly for human beings, right? Applicant tracking is, if I happen to be applying online and the company uses an ATS, I want this resume to serve that function as well. All right. So the human being who gets your resume needs this formatted so that they can read it easily and quickly. So this means the resume needs to be in at least a 12-point font, no microfonts, no 10-point fonts, because then the recruiter or the person in all likelihood has to go running and looking for one of these. I certainly do if a resume is less than 12 point. And that means that they're spending some of their precious 10 seconds finding their reading glasses and not reading about how fabulous you are. The margin should be set at about 1 inch. You can play around with those a little, but start at 1 inch. The resume should be 2 pages. A 1-page resume is really very old-fashioned because we now do summary sections at the top of resumes, and you just can't do a summary section and a 1-page resume. For those of you who have federal resumes that are 6, 7, 8 pages long, that's going to have to come down to 2 pages. And I know that's a bit of a challenge, but all the rest of us have 2-page resumes. You can do it too. One of the tricks is that in the federal government system, you have to list all of your responsibilities. Private sector resumes, we don't worry about responsibilities, it's just accomplishments. And that's where a lot of the verbiage sort of departs. It should have a headline and a summary section, and we'll talk more about that. And the headline should not be, summary of qualifications, because again, think about that iScan, that's prime real estate. We want something in that headline that's about you, that's not just a guider. We're looking for a more modern font. So Arial and Times New Roman are sort of out. They look a bit old-fashioned. The more modern sans serif fonts, and again, you can Google them, Trebuchet or Segoy, Helvetica. Even Helvetica is starting to get to be old-fashioned, but they look a little more modern. And, quick tip, some fonts are a little tighter than others. And so you can try putting your resume in various fonts and see which ones provide the best spacing. Some of them may push a line over. If you change the font, you may gain that line back. So play around with just putting the resume in different fonts and seeing which one you like. Overall, there should be adequate white space. There doesn't need to be a lot, but there needs to be adequate white space so the resume doesn't look like this enormous block of text. The white space and the bolding sort of pulls people into a resume. And we're going to use short bullets. I really like bullets in a resume to be 3 lines. I will give you 4 if you really need it. But if a resume bullet is going on to 5 or 6 lines, it's too long, it's not scannable. The only thing the recruiter is seeing is the first phrase of that bullet point and maybe a little bit after that. So if that helps, that's what the person coming at your resume is looking for. All right. The non-human person, the non-human eyes on this resume will be an applicant tracking system from time to time. Big corporations will use them more, but don't assume that your resume is going to be read by an ATS. To make it ATS friendly, you're going to focus on keywords. You're going to list very clear accomplishments in nice, tight bullets. You're going to use numbers whenever possible, both for the human scanner and for ATS. Numbers really grab attention. I know it's not always possible to quantify, but numbers really get the ATS's attention as well as the human scanner's attention. And this is changing because the ATSs are getting better, but really elaborate formatting, lots of boxes off to the side. It's possible that not all ATSs will be able to read them, right? Because there is a vast number out there. Some of them are really modern and up to date, and some of them are a little creaky. So we don't want super elaborate formatting in our resumes. It may interfere with the ATS being able to scan that information. Okay, so your resume will have a summary section. If it doesn't, you're going to go right after this session and you're going to go start a summary section. The summary section of the resume, because again, we only get 7 seconds about, the summary section of the resume should say everything that the recruiter wants to know about you, right? Assume that they're never going to get to the second page of the resume. So the summary section should say it all. So you can look at Jessica Hernandez's samples and her template when you have a chance. She's a resume writer, which I am not. Her resume is gorgeous. Her template is gorgeous, nicely formatted. I do recommend, if you are really anxious about a resume, investing in a resume writer. They have a specialized skill set and they're good at what they do. But plenty of clients have used my basic template, which I'm about to show you, and have gotten jobs. So if you just want to format, do your own formatting and work, you can use something like this. So this is the summary section. It is a sample that I did for years ago for the Tax Coalition, which is a trade group of people who are tax specialists. And so they helped me with this sample. But this person is obviously the Vice President of Tax Affairs. That's her title. So right away, if you are looking for somebody who's a Director of Tax or VP of Tax Affairs, boop, this resume is going in the check pile. Yep, want to read that. She's told you how many years of experience she has, because at this level, people are usually looking for 10, 15 years of experience. Her bullet points, click check. This is the checkbox. That's what those bullet points are. She's in a top 50 law firm. She does tax policy analysis. She worked at the House Ways and Means. She worked for a trade association. And then she's got a few bullet points, one of which, like if I were redoing this now, early adopter of technology solutions, I might actually be more specific about AI uses, and I might put that a little higher in this list, right? Because early adopter of technology, comfort with AI solutions, this is something that employers are looking for these days. And at this point, like the recruiter's largely done, right? The recruiter's like, yep, I need a VP of tax. This looks amazing. And there's very little formatting in here. The most important piece of formatting you need to do this type of resume is you need to know how to do a right tab. Don't tab, the address over the email address over from the left. Have it come back from the right margin using a right tab. Google that. It's the fanciest thing you need to do, and then you're going to put in a couple of graphic lines. That's a summary section can be longer than this. It can be a little shorter than this, but this is approximately what you're going to look for in a summary section. And then we go to the experience block, your professional experience. And often on a resume, because space is tight, I do not even say professional experience. I have the summary section set off as 2 graphic lines, and then I just start the cron of the resume. Everybody can figure out what they're seeing. This is the summary, and this is the experience. All right, so for the experience blocks, for each block, We are only going to list the years of employment. Again, we're making this resume easy to scan. If your employment dates are March of 2017 to August of 2021, I'm sitting down doing the math. Let's see, that's March of 20 to August. That's about, and the recruiter is doing the math as well. And there goes your 7 seconds on calculations. Just say 2017 to 2024. Okay, that's about 7 years. Even I can do the math that fast. So just use the years. I know the government requires months, but the private sector does not. So just use years. This has the added advantage of in your cron covering short gaps in your employment. So when somebody scans that right-hand side and you notice the recruiter did check, right? The cron looks unbroken, easy to read and unbroken. So use years only, no months. You'll see this in the next one. In my style of resume, you can put either the title or the organization you worked for first. And you can change that block to block. Because again, we're looking for a scan. So if the title is the sexiest thing that you had, list the title first. Like if you're VP of Tax Affairs, okay. Her organization is the Widget Makers of America. Less important, right? She's looking for a tax job, not a widget job. So that's going to be the second thing that you list. On the other hand, if your organization, like House Ways and Means, was the sexier thing, then that's what gets listed first. And as long as the first line is bolded and the second line is plain font, you can switch that around and nobody's going to notice that your format is not consistent. All right. Some resume writers may object with that, but it's worked for me. We've already talked about use the right tab for the dates, bullet points, short, 3 to 4 lines, and make sure those bullet points start strong. The iScan, they start at the beginning of the bullet points, and that's where they focus their attention. So we often write a bullet point to say, I did this and this and this with the result of this. And the result is at the end. But that's often the most powerful piece of that bullet. So my recommendation is just take all of your bullet points, take the ending, the conclusion, put it at the beginning, and then write the bullet point so that the most important accomplishment is at the front. Because they're only going to read 3 or 4, scan 3 or 4 words at the front. So start those bullet points strong. All right. This is the second page of the sample resume that I did. And again, if you're looking at this, it's like, hey, this looks like a resume. Yeah, this is great. But we change it up. She was Assistant VP of Tax Affairs, which because we're looking for a tax job, that's what we want to highlight. But the next thing, associate, isn't really a terribly sexy title, but Money, Honey, and More, which was a national boutique, law firm with a top-ranked tax practice, Money, Honey, and More is going to catch people's eyes, as is House Ways and Means, rather than staff assistant. Okay, so sometimes it's the title, sometimes it's the organization, whichever is going to reinforce your message more. And again, just note, we have the dates against the right margin. It's mostly bullets. There's 1 or maybe 2 lines that just give you an overview of the job. She was responsible for grassroots efforts, nationally recognized law firm, top ranked tax practice, just a little bit of what I call grandma language, basically grandma. Here's what I did. Here's what I do at the top, and then bullet points for the body of the resume. All right. So now let's talk about something else that always gets everyone wrapped around the axle. Should you or should you not include your date of graduation? And just here's the truth about this. If you include your date of graduation on your resume, yes, they will know how old you are. If you do not include your dates of graduation on your resume, they're going to know you're old, right? Because when we were younger, we didn't care about our graduation dates on our resume. So either way, it's going to say something about you. And so really, if you look young for your age, leave the graduation dates off and don't worry about it. If you're like me and you don't give a damn how old they know you are, go ahead and leave them on. Another reason for leaving your graduation dates on is if you are running your professional chronology from your first job. So there would be no point in my hiding the fact that I graduated from my master's degree in 1986 If my first job at the Department of Commerce, yes, I'm in my 60s, people. If my first job at the Department of Commerce starts in 1986, now you can leave your early experience off a resume, right? The last 10 to 15 years will be sufficient on a resume. But if there is something about that early experience that you want to keep, and you're going to list your start date at work, then you might as well put your graduation dates down, right? You've been outed. The reason I leave my government experience there is, one, I'm very proud of my government experience. Two, I rely on that as part of my credentials for the salary negotiations training that I do. So that remains on my resume, and the dates remain on my resume. So my graduation dates are there. I just want you to make a decision. It's not right or wrong. If you work with a resume writer, go with whatever the resume writer advises, but don't waste sleep over this, okay? It's just not worth it. And again, 7-second scan. The date should be all the way at the very, very, very bottom of your resume. They may never notice. All right, here's the other thing that makes my clients go, what? You should customize your resume for each job you apply for. Yes, you should. However, this does not mean you need to do a huge rewrite of the resume. If you have a clear target statement, go see our networking session from 2 weeks ago. It's up on YouTube, and a clear target list, then you know what the qualifications and the keywords are for that industry and for that job. And that's what your resume, the body of your resume, should be highlighting. You know, these are the accomplishments that you are going to rely on in almost every interview you go for. The customization usually happens right at the top. We just change the headline to reflect the job they're looking for, right? If they're not looking for a VP of tax, they're looking for a senior tax executive, she might change that to say senior tax executive, right? International tax, if it says international tax, she has an LLM in international tax, they may say international tax executive, right? That's all the customization that resume needs. Or you may want to reorder the bullets in the summary section. Again, if this were, for example, a job that was heavily AI and automation focused, she might take that last bullet point on being an early adopter of technology and put that first and emphasize that. So you can reorder the bullets to more closely reflect the job. You can add or delete bullets in the summary section. So if you've got a specialized piece of experience that you refer to elsewhere in the resume, you can sort of point to that up in the summary section. In most cases, you should not have to rewrite the body of the resume. The only customization happens at the very top, because that's really where they're going to see it. Okay, so, and then I do recommend each time you customize a resume, you save that resume. And just as an aside, keep a copy of the resume, keep a copy of the job posting, keep a copy of the cover letter you sent. Put it in place in a directory you can get rid of at some point, because it may be months before they get back to you. The job posting is no longer up. You've edited your resume so many times, you can't remember what it looked like back then. And you don't remember what you said in your cover letter. So don't copy over those documents until you're done with your search. Keep them for each job. Because again, if you block copy over the resume, I promise you what's going to happen is that there is going to be an absolutely amazing job, and that resume that you copied over would have been perfect. And so you now have an easy library. Like, this is the easiest one to customize for this job, right? So that's how we customize a resume. Alrighty. Now we're going to talk about everyone's even more favorite thing than their resume, and that's their LinkedIn profile. Most of my clients hate this. So let's just get this out of the way right now. I know you hate it. I know you don't like social media. I know it feels like bragging. I know. Too bad. The only people that I'm talking to who do not need to be on LinkedIn are, one, people who work for organizations that have banned them from being on LinkedIn. Usually that's the intelligence community. And if that's you, okay, you're here. So that means you're going to want to be drafting a LinkedIn profile in Word so that when you are no longer under that ban, you have prepared a LinkedIn profile and are ready to go. The other people that we do want to be careful with is, and this happens, anyone who has a stalker. And then social media is a very different thing. Okay. So if you're not in one of those two groups, then you have to have a LinkedIn profile if you're job seeking. And I'm super sorry about that, but you do. I may not make you love LinkedIn, but I hope by the end of this that you are going to feel competent at making this tool work for you. All right. So the first thing we are going to do, because again, everyone's like, oh, I don't want, like, I get notifications. I don't want anyone knowing that I'm changing my LinkedIn profile. That's right. You don't want to make changes and have people get notified that you've got a job change. Because if you change your title, they're going to, oh, so-and-so has a new job. So you are going to go into your LinkedIn profile. You're going to go up to the right-hand corner where that little settings thing is, your little, picture is, and you're going to click on settings. And then you're going to go down and click on visibility. And then once you're in the visibility menu, you're going to scroll down because it's not in the first block, it's in the second block to turn off shared job changes. To visibility of your LinkedIn activity. And then you are going to go to shared job changes and you're going to turn that to off. And it should stay off, right? Because there's no reason to be notifying about anybody about anything unless you want them to be notified. So the only time you change this setting is when you have landed your new job, and you will. You've landed your new job. You come in and you turn this to on. You go into the LinkedIn experience block and you put in your new job and title. And LinkedIn tells everybody, so-and-so, congratulate Susan, she has a new job. And then you come back in and you turn this off because this is where it should stay. Okay. So for all of you who are like, sweaty palmed, afraid that something's going to blow up if you go in there, that's the place to go. All right. So now we can talk about LinkedIn. Everyone's like taking a deep breath. You're okay. You're not going to ruin anything. All right. Here's what's most important to understand about LinkedIn. That you are serving multiple audiences with that profile. And you want to understand who's reading it and how they're seeing it. So most of us are familiar with LinkedIn's front door, right? We go to linkedin.com, we go to our homepage, and then we search for somebody else and we go to the front page of their profile. LinkedIn gives us some search tools, but mostly we're seeing the front door. So usually colleagues who want to connect with us are coming in through that front door. Some recruiters and employers, especially smaller organizations, are also just going onto LinkedIn and either looking for you because they've networked with you or they are going to network with you or they interviewed you. Or, they're just trolling around and looking for possible candidates. What you need to understand is that is not how LinkedIn makes its money. Even if you pay for premium, that is not how LinkedIn makes its money. LinkedIn makes its money from the back door, from LinkedIn Recruiter. And if you want to understand more about really what LinkedIn is doing, go search LinkedIn Recruiter and take a look at how LinkedIn markets LinkedIn Recruiter. I'll show you one slide from that marketing slide deck. But this is a subscription service for employers and recruiters. It allows them to go in and search LinkedIn in very specific ways to find the keywords and the skills that they are looking for. And you will never know they were there. Those searches never show up unless the recruiter reaches out and said, hey, found you on LinkedIn, would like to invite you to apply for a job, which happened to a client of mine just last week. Why? She asked, what got you interested? She had some very specific keywords in the ag sector. And the recruiter grabbed her profile and said, hey, I've got a job, you should apply for this. It happens once you get good at speaking to LinkedIn Recruiter. And the other backdoor is the algorithms that LinkedIn is using. It uses the algorithms to give you job postings. It also uses those algorithms to bring you to the attention of recruiters. So as we're talking about what goes into your LinkedIn profile, we're really as much talking about the back door and LinkedIn Recruiter as the front door. Okay. So this is just one slide from the LinkedIn Recruiter um, marketing sort of thing. And so this recruiter has gone in and clearly put in a bunch of keywords. And this is what they've gotten. This is their result. There are 84 people qualified for this job that are open to work. There are an additional 121 who are giving active seeker signals. They are not necessarily open to work, but they are giving active seeker signals. Remember that. And then there's 17 rediscovered candidates, which I think is, you've looked at them before, they've applied before, and maybe you want to look at them again. But it is the open to work and the active seeker signals that we want to be speaking to with our LinkedIn profile. Okay. So there's the jobs button in your LinkedIn profile is the way you can signal to recruiters that you are actively looking or open to work without putting that little open to work thing around your face in the front through the front door. Different people have different opinions about the open to work. Again, you do what you want to do. There's no right or wrong answer, but a lot of people feel uncomfortable having like the I'm unemployed button around their face. You can still signal via LinkedIn that you are open to work without having that green circle around your face. So, two ways we use the jobs button to signal recruiters. One is to create alerts. You can put in job titles, you can put in companies, you can put in keywords. All of those are ways, once you've created that job alert, that is speaking to both LinkedIn Recruiter and the algorithms. You will start to see job postings that are related to that alert or to those companies, and you may start to hear from recruiters. So that's one way. The other way is you can say that you are open to work, but you can limit it to just recruiters. So just to the backdoor people. They will know that you are looking for work, but that little green ring around your face will not appear. If you want that green ring, then you click all LinkedIn members. But this is how we start signaling in LinkedIn. I'm looking. If you've got something, come talk to me. And again, LinkedIn makes its money off of LinkedIn Recruiter. People pay attention to that, right? All right. So since we are talking to the algorithm and we are talking to LinkedIn Recruiter, we are doing nothing but keywords. Keywords, no, we're doing a little more than keywords, but we are really focused on keywords. The keywords should be in every place that you can stick them in LinkedIn, starting with your headline, then moving to your about section, and then in all of your experience descriptions, and then in the skills section. So let's break that down. So the headline, LinkedIn will default for your profile headline to your current job title unless you tell it otherwise. And you can tell it otherwise by clicking on the little edit button. Please use that space. And this is when you start using AI. You can use ChatGPT or Perplexity. Somebody who does a lot of LinkedIn training suggested the Share Through Headline or Analyzer, which is free. The Career Resources handout has the link to the Share Through Headline Analyzer, but you can also just throw it in a search engine. And that analyzes the engagement level of your headline. So having gone to this training, I actually took my headline for LinkedIn and I ran it through. And this was, I don't know, I got north of 70% engagement level. I mean, some people get 100%, but I was pretty happy. I think it went from 30 to 70. So I was like, I'll take that. And Share Through got me to all things career, salary negotiations, career management, executive mindset. A little clarity goes a long way. So I have keywords, salary negotiation, executive mindset, career. And then for the human beings, I have my tagline, which is a little clarity goes a long way. And if you think about it, that's exactly what these workshops that I'm doing are all about. Just a little bit of clarity about what you need to be doing can go a very long way to getting you there. So that's my tagline. So play around with your headline. You can get a lot of impact, and I will show you in a minute, a couple of examples just from the headline, right? Um, and if you want lovely symbols like, arrows or line pipes or vertical pipes or anything, you will have to import them from Word. But you can copy them in Word and paste them into LinkedIn. But those fancy things don't exist in LinkedIn. So when you see people have really, nicely done, they've got lots of symbols in them, they came out of Word and they pasted them into LinkedIn. When we do the summary section, the about section in LinkedIn, you want to write in the first person. It's different than the resume. This is an opportunity to talk directly to the recruiter. The recruiter finds your profile in LinkedIn Recruiter and goes, click on that, open it up, and right away you are talking to them, right? It leads to a more natural tone, and it makes your story a little more personal and therefore more engaging. So somebody is likely to spend more time with them. Okay. So this is my LinkedIn, the top of my LinkedIn. And what I want you to notice is behind my headshot. Oh, yes, headshots. Thou shalt have a headshot that is less than 5 years old. If your headshot is more than 5 years old, then it is time to get a new one. This one is approaching. I'm going to need a new one. So it's on my to-do list. But up-to-date headshot, clear and easy, not cut out of something else, no red Solo cups in there, nice clean headshot. These days, if you've got a friend with an iPhone and is a decent photographer, you don't need a professional headshot. They're nice, but just a good headshot. And then do something with the wallpaper behind, because it really does catch the eye and it makes you look like, ooh, this is somebody who really knows what LinkedIn is all about. Any picture will do. This is literally a picture of my bookshelf. That's all I did, was took a picture of all of my career books and put it in there. You can do fancier stuff, and I'll show you fancy in a minute, but you can do just basic. You can take a picture of your favorite piece of art and put it in there. No animals unless you are looking for a vet tech job. If you work in education, there might be a stylized image of, a blackboard or a school. I had one client who worked in the defense industry, and she had a lovely picture of a Black Hawk helicopter on her profile. So think about how you're going to use that space. And again, there's the headline. And just like your resume, this is what people see when they come. So make use of that first 5 seconds when somebody hits your LinkedIn profile. All right, mine is do it yourself. I'm a small business owner. I did this myself. This is a colleague of mine who is also amazing and worth following all on her own, Marie Zimenoff. She is the CEO of Career Thought Leaders. And the now, the new, and the next in careers is the tagline for Career Thought Leaders. She's also CEO of the Resume Writing Academy. So she's done a little bit more with that graphic. She's from Colorado. I suspect the picture in the background is a picture of Colorado. And she's actually used a tagline up in that picture. If you are fancy, comfortable with Canva, like to play around with graphics, creative, I would suggest doing this. It just stops the process. Like everyone gets this and goes, wow. Like if somebody can have a LinkedIn profile that looks like this, I really do need to talk to them. All right. And again, she's got arrows in here, dividing up her skill set. But this is loaded with keywords: career coaches, resume writers, social media, business growth, job search, professional resume writer, training. Like it's all keywords. All right. And then thou shalt have, just like in your resume, you will have a summary section. The about section of your LinkedIn is truly not optional. This really is, just like the summary section, the place the recruiter is going to go. Start in the first person, make it keyword rich, and tell your story. So again, I have pulled Marie's about because she does such a lovely job. Entrepreneur, speaker, leader. I never imagined holding these roles. My natural analytical tendencies didn't lend to risk taking. And then she goes on, but please notice all those keywords: entrepreneur, speaker, leader, analytical, right there, risk taking, lots of keywords. And then it goes on. She gets lots of career stuff in there, training things. So it is both a human story that's very engaging. And Marie is an introvert. It's really funny. She has this, amazing empire that she has built, but she's an introvert. And it also has keywords. You can, at the bottom of your about section, you can also just put in a keyword section, just your keywords separated by those vertical lines, the pipes, so that they read your summary section and they just see a bunch of keywords. And the algorithms and LinkedIn Recruiter will see those keywords as well. All right, the experience blocks of LinkedIn provide more detail. They're not actually that big. So, you want to curate what goes in them. Again, this will be a story told in the first person. Don't just copy in the bullet points from your resume. This is your opportunity to talk a little bit about this job. I was hired for this job specifically because of my experience doing XYZ, because the organization wanted to launch a new initiative. And I did blank, blank, blank bullet point. Make sure there's lots of keywords in the experience section and make it a story. One client did a lovely, her career had been literally, she'd been hired from one job to the next, because each time what she'd done in the previous job, somebody wanted her to come and recreate here. And then somebody else pulled her over here because she'd done that. And so when you read her LinkedIn story, it was just so clear how her career had evolved. And it was fun to read, right? It was engaging, which meant the recruiter spent more time with her. All right, the next place we're going to use keywords is in the skills section, right? So add a skill. You have 100 skills slots. Use them all, because this is particularly critical for LinkedIn Recruiter and the type of searches. Okay, it's a Boolean search. Okay, which is a fancy term, which means that they can be very specific about which keywords they want. They can say, I want this keyword and this keyword, or this keyword, all of this keyword, but not this keyword. They can be very, very specific and really, really dial down to what they want. So in order to get caught in a Boolean search, you need all sorts of keywords in there. So put all 100 in. LinkedIn, if you go in and you start typing career, you'll get a drop-down menu of career development, career counseling, career exploration, all sorts of things. Pick every one of those that applies to you. Because again, those have been generated by the algorithms. Who's taught the algorithms? LinkedIn Recruiter. These are the words that recruiters tend to want to see and look for. So go ahead and grab any of the drop-down skills that apply to you. And then if there are other things that you have that, LinkedIn doesn't have a drop-down for, it doesn't come up right away, that's okay. That means it's an even more specialized skill. So it may be a database that you're familiar with. It may be a regulation or a set of laws. Like, put anything in that identifies your skill set to a recruiter and use all 100 of these slots. All right. And this is something like you can do now. You can go right in and you can update your skill set. And I will just say, I'll just point that you do not want ChatGPT writing your resume or your LinkedIn profile. Bad idea. It's not good at that. But what ChatGPT is super good at is doing an analysis. So you can throw in a bunch of, want ads that you've seen, a bunch of job postings into ChatGPT and say, analyze these and tell me what are the keywords. Compare this job posting to my resume and tell me what qualifications I'm missing in my resume. So if you're like, I don't know what the keywords are, start pulling down, either LinkedIn profiles, pull the text out, or grab some job postings in your sector and ask, one of the AI bots to give you some ideas on keywords. They're really good at that. Really super good at that. Why waste our time? That's what they're for. Okay, this next thing is one of the most valuable things you can have in your LinkedIn profile. And it is valuable because recruiters know that it is very hard to get these. And that is a recommendation. And the reason it's hard to get these is you can't just take a nice little quote that somebody has given you and put it into a recommendation on LinkedIn. You actually have to request through LinkedIn a recommendation. And it has to go to somebody else who has a LinkedIn profile so LinkedIn can confirm that that is a real person giving you this recommendation. And again, they confirm, like, did you work together? And they'll look at your LinkedIn profile versus somebody else's LinkedIn profile. You can't say you work together unless both of you have that organization in your LinkedIn profile. Okay. You'll notice Janet is one of my recommenders. Janet worked with me, but on different teams, right? So we work together, but we don't need an overlapping set of workplaces. And the way you will do this is you will go and click plus, that plus sign up in the upper right-hand corner, and request a recommendation from somebody. You can also go in and write a recommendation. So if you click on the little pencil, you can write a recommendation for somebody. And so here's what I recommend to get recommendations. The first, as everybody's getting laid off and funding is getting cut here, and it's just stunning, right? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, let me know if there's anything I can do. I want you to go, actually, you can write a recommendation for me in LinkedIn and I will send you that request right away. Really, if people are saying, is there something I can do? It's like, it would be hugely helpful. Like, one of the best things you could do for me is write a LinkedIn recommendation. So please take advantage of everyone's like devastation that you are unemployed and get them to give you a LinkedIn recommendation. You can also arrange with a colleague that you really respect, you know they respect you. This is a favor you're doing for each other. I'm going to write you a LinkedIn recommendation because it's important for your profile. I would love it if you would write me one as well. So I will send you a request and I will send you a recommendation. And then if you would please fill that form out and send it back to me. And again, you can even tell them, these are the keywords that I'd love you to, these are the skills that I'd love you to highlight. This is the experience. It would be really helpful if you talked about. Because most of us who are recommenders, like, what do I say? Tell them what to say. You don't have to write it for them. You say, cover these things, talk about this experience. Make sure you cover these keywords. They seem to show up in every want ad that I see, right? So especially if you're just, going, oh my gosh, how do I deal with the job search? Like, getting the recommendation process rolling is something useful you can do right away. And most people are more than happy to help with writing a recommendation. Okay, we are going to give active seeker signals, right? So one of the things that you're going to do in LinkedIn is take all of your target list organizations. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at the networking presentation where we talked about target lists, but you should have 50 to 100 organizations that you are actively targeting for networking. And those should be in your LinkedIn profile in the interest section. So you're going to go down to your interest section, you're going to go to companies, and you'll see who you're following. So do me a favor, because I just looked at this recently. Over the years, we collect all sorts of weird organizations that we're following, like, the coffee company in the city you used to live in. Like, there are all sorts of weird followers. Get rid of them. Clean up so the algorithms get a much clearer picture of what you're looking for. And then follow companies. And the way you follow a company is, again, you go to the LinkedIn search box and you say, I want to search for Aetna. You search Aetna and usually the company's LinkedIn page will show up right away. Click on that. When you get to the company's LinkedIn page, it will give you the option to follow. So, in my first workshop, I said, job search, you should be spending, if you are unemployed, you should be spending 5 to 6 hours a day in the job search. There's a good hour right here. Between the a couple hours between the skill section, getting some recommendations and making sure your target list is in the interest section. That'll take care of a couple hours, no problem. So spend some time getting your target list in to your LinkedIn, because then again, the recruiters know you're following these companies. Often if a recruiter is with a company, the first thing when they go looking, they'll say, these are all the people following your company, right? Active seeker signal. And LinkedIn, if it has job listings and you're following that company, they are likely to send you that job posting. So it's a really easy way to make the algorithms work for you. All right, this is the next place where if you are job seeking, even if you're not job seeking, but if you are job seeking, you should also be active on LinkedIn. It is social media. So you're going to need to be a little social, not a lot social, just a little social, because it does make the process work faster. Again, people who are active on LinkedIn tend to get more likes, more follows, they get more interaction, and you stay top of mind, right? So again, back to networking. If you haven't checked out that section, every person we talk to or interact with is like lighting up a node in our network, right? And so if you are interacting on LinkedIn, you are essentially lighting up the people who are reading your feeds, your activity, and reminding them, oh, Karen's there, Karen's there. And now they have a job that who are they going to think of? They're going to think of Karen because they've seen Karen posting like crazy. Right? You don't have to post like crazy, but use LinkedIn. So go to your LinkedIn feed, go to home, and this is where all of your connections are posting things. And you have lots of choices. The easiest of which is just hit a little thumbs up or a little heart next to posts. Somebody is, announcing they've got a job, give that a little like. Somebody is, announcing that they just spoke at a conference, give that a little like. Right? That's it. But they see that, right? They see that so-and-so liked your post. And now you're top of mind, right? They've got 500 plus connections. I've got more than 500 connections. The ones who come to top of mind are the ones I see in my feed all the time. So if I'm thinking about what resume writer am I sending to, it's Jessica, it's Michelle. They're the ones who pop up in my feed. It's Marie, the ones who pop up in my feed all the time. You can also repost things that are relevant to your audience. Right now, there are so many job fairs and information for job seekers, and I have just been hitting repost, 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 because this person is in my feed. So I'm a first degree connection of them. But when I repost it, it now goes out to my feed. And those are usually second and third degree connections to the person who posted it. So we are literally juicing the network when we repost something. So if somebody says, oh, there's a job fair coming up, repost it. If somebody says, here's a list of new jobs that are out there, repost that. You can do a favor. If you're finding these sessions hopeful, you could go on LinkedIn and post that these next 2 sessions are coming and here are the registration links. Or you could post my YouTube channel and say, here's their free resources for job seekers. Anybody needs it, here it is. I'll appreciate it, sure. But it's also useful for the people who are in your network. You may share articles either that your organization has posted or that somebody in your field has done, has written. And again, you just share it and say, I just want to, share this article and kudos to. It's helpful if you tag people in LinkedIn. And that's simply when you type it, you just say, thanks, Karen Chopra, for doing these workshops. And then again, it lets people know, oh, I've been tagged. Somebody's sharing this information. And again, I pay attention to who shared the information, right? I will remember that person. So this is all ways of, like, in 10 minutes a day, you can attract attention from your network and stay top of mind. And again, you don't need to do a lot of marketing for yourself. Just be a good member of the community, give kudos, share information. It's a great way to be active on LinkedIn. Okay, some of you have sent me LinkedIn requests because of these workshops, which is fine, and I'm happy to connect. However, many of my LinkedIn connection requests have come with no identifying information. And there are fake profiles on LinkedIn. There are Russian bots on LinkedIn. There are North Korean bots. There are, Elon Musk bots. Like, there are all sorts of, unsavory players on LinkedIn, just like every place else. And so I don't recommend you connect with people you do not know or who are not directly in your field. And so I don't either. So if you've requested to connect and I haven't, it's probably because you didn't personalize the request and I don't know where you are or who you are. So personalize all of your requests. The way you do that is you have to go to the person's profile. So don't do it like people you might know, don't connect from there because I'm pretty sure they don't give you the option to personalize. They just send a request. Go to the person's profile, click on connect. If you don't see the connect button, it's probably under the more button. You have to click more and then there'll be a connect request. Okay. You can follow them, but that just means you get their information, but they are not in your network. You're just following. So they'll be in your interest section. So overall, we want connection. So click on the connect button. You have to be in their profile. Click on the connect button in the person's profile. And then it will give you an option, add a personal note. And LinkedIn says you're more likely to get a response if you add a personal note, which is true. Add a personal note. I've been watching your webinars. Click, connect. If you know about my webinars, okay, now I know where you're coming from. And then explain why you're reaching out. I found you on the alumni pages of my university. I found you on LinkedIn. So-and-so recommended that you'd be a great person to speak with. You're in my field. You work for one of my target companies. Would you be willing to connect and spend 10, 15 minutes chatting? But personalize those LinkedIn requests. So if you sent me a request, like you can't resend the request, but you can message me via LinkedIn. Now, one of the things I will say about personalizing LinkedIn requests is that you have a limit per month. And I actually almost exceeded it in February because I was doing so much, networking at that point. You could upgrade to premium to get more personalization requests. But you don't have to use LinkedIn Premium. I've never had LinkedIn Premium. I don't usually recommend it. It's only if I really need to use this feature and I'm out, in which case remember to cancel it after the free month. All right. Okay. I hope you have at least figured out how to be a competent user of LinkedIn, even if you don't love it. But it is pretty cool once you get it rocking and rolling. So next week, we are going to be doing interview prep next Tuesday, the 18th at 7:30 p.m. Please join me. And at this point, I'm going to ask Jay to turn off the recording. I'm going to stop the share and I'm happy to answer questions that